Gentlemen, it's time once again to discuss things.
Go ahead and get started.
Yeah, who's doing the intro this time?
Oh, it's my topic. Okay, we ready?
Yep.
Now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. This is your friend and compatriot Milan Jeftik 1992 here with my geeky gentleman. On my right is my good friend and sometimes enemy, Mr. Ian, or it is better known, Mr. Sid Part 2. Please say hello, Ian.
Hello, Ian.
And on my right is the great, the awesome, the almighty fire-breathing behemoth that destroys Japan on a daily basis. The one, the only, Zazubar. Say hello, Zazubar.
Greetings, folks. Well, let me just point out a flaw in that little intro. We're both on your right.
Oh.
Yeah, in the picture we're sitting that way.
Oh.
Just to criticize Milan and tear him down from the very beginning here.
Also,
no, this week we have a cool title card that I'm gonna add animation to and everything because fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. If I may just chime in here really quick, I just wanted to say this at the beginning. I have kind of a depressing thing to say at the end of the video, but just to give a little prelude to that.
Yeah. You want to just start it out now, just so people know?
That's fine. Yeah. So guys, I love doing this show. It's one of the highlights of my week. I absolutely love talking to you guys on a weekly basis. I love, the viewers and the listeners. But just the schedule I'm enduring right now between work, school, and the college application process, and also just some personal problems I'm having, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this show week to week. So this is going to be my last full-fledged episode for a while. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to come back. My whole YouTube account is basically going to be on hiatus for a while. I'm hoping I'll be back by January, but that's like fool thinking, like really lucky kind of thinking. But hopefully I'll be back by January at the very earliest. Really sorry guys, but I'm going to have to go on hiatus until January. So this will be my final episode for a while.
Aww.
Though I will be making some appearances with the whole Who Reviews the Reviewer things we'll be planning.
Yeah. I'll make that announcement now. Bill did say he'd try his best to come back because Who Reviews the Reviewers has started up again for season 3, and so we got 8 contestants. And what I'm gonna try to do, I haven't coordinated with all of them yet, but I was talking with a couple of the contestants. What I'm gonna try to do is each week, as someone gets voted off, we'll have them guest on this show for a week with the 3 of us, if at all possible. So it's kind of, a little mini reunion of contestants thing again.
Yes,
And they will get to pick the topic, and we'll discuss whatever they want to discuss. Now, the interesting thing is there's the one dude, I can't remember his username, but he's got the pipe and the tobacco. I really hope we don't have to smoke anything. Like, that would be really awkward. It's like, yeah, you can totally pick any topic you want. We're going to discuss the taste of this tobacco. Damn.
Well, I am too young to smoke, so.
You're in New York.
Yeah.
19 is the legal age.
All right. You guys, it's illegal to smoke in America?
No, it's not. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's not illegal to smoke. You're not legally allowed to buy cigarettes. I should have rephrased that. I'm sorry.
All right, but anyway, all this depressing news with Bill having to go on hiatus and not being able to smoke, and us recruiting more evil minions to destroy Captain Logan. The subject of today's conversation will be the works of H.P. Lovecraft. More specifically, 3 stories by H.P. Lovecraft. The first is Call of Cthulhu. The second is Shadow over Innsmouth. And the third is, please, one of you guys.
Colors, something. I can't.
The color out of space or something.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have to do them in that order?
No, in any order whatsoever.
Okay, let's do it in the order I listened to them because it actually kind of worked out fairly well. Let's do it the colors out of space, the Shadow over Innsmouth, and then Call of Cthulhu, because that's the order I
It's exactly how I listen to them, so let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it that way, because
do
actually there's kind of a continuity between them in that
There
sense.
is. There definitely is.
Yeah,
Let me explain. For all those viewers that don't know, a little backstory on H.P. Lovecraft.
Go ahead.
H.P. Okay, thank you. Basically H.P. Lovecraft was a pulp writer around in the 20s. Actually, if you guys know your pulp fiction history, and you most likely know the magazine Weird Tales, the same magazine that gave us Urban Derelith and Robert E. Howard. H.P. Lovecraft, was part of came from that rich magazine, and he was in contact with all these great writers like Robert E. Howard and such like. But the greatest thing that he,
everywhere, like such as.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Those people.
Yeah, those people. Okay, I'll anyway, but
Sorry, you just seriously
to completely derail his speech.
Anyway.
No lie. When I hear you talk, I think of the ugly version of Miss Teen South Carolina.
Okay.
Sorry.
Please finish talking. All right.
Maybe, I don't know. Vague.
Okay.
We really like to interrupt each other on this show, so there's a very slim chance of that happening.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
Ian's have weird fetishes later, but
What?
so
Milan obviously has not seen the video to which I am referring.
Oh, thank God. Anyway, but H.P. Lovecraft came up with this intense, really in-depth mythos that he came out that sprung out of his writings. Sort of the what people like to call the Cthulhu mythos, because it has to do with extra-dimensional space gods, and it explores subjects such as nihilism, atheism, and just the complete and utter insignificance of humanity compared to the rest of the universe.
All happy
Okay.
themes.
Let's cut in here right away, because I do not see, at least in the stories we listened to or read, I did not see any themes of atheism. It all seemed very
Nihilistic.
what's the word I want? No, not just nihilistic. What's the word I want? Hedonistic.
Oh yeah, you're referring to the cults.
Yeah, it didn't seem atheistic.
It was definitely anti-Christian.
Yeah, I'll give you that, but that's not the definition of atheism.
Well, no, it's not. That's not a no god at all. Which clearly Cthulhu is some sort of deity.
Yeah, or
I mean,
he's
especially
taking the place of one.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
in the Call of Cthulhu, they say this is the thing that gave humanity, these things. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's some sort of creator.
Pagan. Pagan's the word I want.
Yeah,
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 too.
yeah.
One more thing. H.P. Lovecraft was a great, not believer, but at the time that he was writing these things, the theory of Miss Maury's Witch Cult of Western Europe was a great book at the time that kind of posed the theory that all these secret societies and cults and vaguely pagan religious organizations at the time were all connected somehow. That everyone, like all these witches, were praying to Pan or the goddess, or all these Satanists were all part of this giant, multi-connected, pagan cult thing. And Lovecraft really liked that idea and really infused that into his stories. And if you read, if we had the time to look into more Lovecraft stories, he really does elaborate on that a little bit more. But the whole culmination of all his cult, thinking, really kind of is squeezed into the Call of Cthulhu, and it just really works out there. But yeah, go ahead. And then
Alright,
the Shadow over Innsmouth as well. So, but
Okay.
anyway.
It's interesting because I had H.P. Lovecraft's one of those people I've always heard of but never read, and it's been kind of on my list for a while, which was why I was really glad that Milan wanted to jump on this. But
Same thing for me.
the interesting thing I found is I have a similar kind of intent to what he did. When I write, I've been doing a series of short stories. You can see them on my channel, and they're all related. They changed narrators and they changed style of writing, like narration style, period. It's not just all first-person narration. I found it really interesting, though, that he did the same thing I'm trying to do, where he's got this loose continuity of events that changes characters, but they're all clearly living in the same universe.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure if I'd seen that done anywhere else before. Definitely after, but I don't know if I've ever read anything before this. That,
Well, and you said this was the 20s, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, the 20s, you know.
Oh yeah, shit, you're right. Never mind. Dracula and Frankenstein. What the hell?
No,
am I-
they're
yeah.
they're
Oh,
not
no,
in the
it's not.
same. No, they're not. I
They're
was
all
gonna say
just,
because it's in the 20s, you're probably right. There wasn't anything before that.
Well, no, I mean Dracula
No.
kind of had that. Like, it's kind of like the prototype of the found footage that Dracula did.
No, not really, because the thing about the.
Well, are we
the
talking about
Dracula novel-
continuity or like
Well, like in the same universe, but changing narrators.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Because
I guess
for those that haven't read Dracula, it's a series of diary entries.
Right.
Yeah.
For the most part. So, like, I
Yeah.
think there's a medical report in there somewhere.
Oh,
and
It's
yes,
all
like a
based-
shipping
not-
log. Yeah, actually,
like-
there's a medical report, there's a shipping log, and there's like a newspaper report too. At some
And the bulk of it is Jonathan Harker's diaries. What I was kind of saying though is that we've never had anything before this where it's all differently, clearly defined different stories in
yeah.
the same continuity.
Fair enough.
And-
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And
It's kind of like the prototype of found footage. Like the Joker blogs did that. What was it that we were talking about the other night, guys? The one with the superheroes and the found footage.
Chronicle.
Yeah, Chronicle did that in a big way, where it's just this pieced together found footage style. And that's an interesting way to write, especially because it not only shows talent as a writer, just to toot my own horn a little bit, but it also shows a really in-depth way of looking at the characters in your world. And I found it incredibly interesting that I had that kind of connection with it.
I'll admit, I want to start this off with a little bit of a criticism. Let me just say this: I enjoyed and was deeply intrigued by all three works we listened to for this video. But one problem I have with the Colorado space, I know we're going to get into it more in depth in a second, but I wasn't really liking the shift in points of view in that story. Now I know for the most part it's one narrator, and it's the guy who's like the reservoir.
Yeah, narrator within a narrator kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Now, not only is it a little hard to follow, I mean, I understood it fine once I looked back on it in retrospective, but not only is it a little hard to follow while you're listening, it also kind of hurts the horror aspect. Like, I was reading through the comments on that video, and someone said they jumped at a certain point, and at no point in the story was I frightened or scared, or even like really drawn into the a little bit drawn into the atmosphere, never scared. And the problem with it is that it jumps to different POVs so much and is told like a person telling a story about a person telling a story that you don't really feel connected to the horrors of the characters.
I actually disagree.
I figured you would, so go ahead and beat me up.
It's not really. I'm not really beating up. I'm sure that it is slightly true, but not to the degree that you're saying. I mean, I'm sure if you just jump in the middle of the story, you're not gonna get really scared because the build up to the story is you haven't.
I listened to the whole story though.
Oh, I don't know. I guess I really dig the kind of horror parts where it's just I guess it's the emotional connection I had with the family. Just the
Well, that's the
horrible
thing. I didn't feel that because there
Really?
was like 3 different POVs with it. I mean, the way that Lovecraft wrote it, which by the way, the thing you can say about basically everything we listened to, it's fucking beautifully written. But the thing I had with it was that it is really wonderfully written and very emotional and poetic and atmospheric. I just didn't feel like I was in the characters' heads, or even not even that, just like I didn't feel like I was feeling the horror of the characters, because I felt like we were very distant from them with like the narrator within a narrator kind of thing. We were listening to this guy tell a story about listening to Annie telling a story, you know what I mean? So it was like I didn't feel connected to that family.
And even then, we got kind of it got kind of Inception-y, where even at some point Annie was telling the story of something that some of the family members had said to him,
Yeah,
it got very very removed, is what you're getting at, Bill. You were very because there are several degrees of separation here, which is interesting because maybe it's just a personal thing. I find it interesting that through all those degrees of separation, whether or not you were horrified, you definitely had to feel uneasy. You had to feel creepy about it, right?
The atmosphere is what did that for me. This world is very beautifully realized. The forest,
Yeah, and that's the thing.
the New England cities.
Yeah, I think there's a
And the
great job of pacing and description.
Yeah.
Just not even just description itself, but like it's almost like you can close your eyes and imagine the story imagine
what I
the
did.
setting without even having to like read through the entire story. You can imagine the setting at every point because he's very detailed, but he's not extremely so, if that makes sense. He lets you fill it in. He just describes the bare bones of it, and then you fill in all the sickening.
And I think it's interesting you brought up Dracula and Frankenstein before, because one of my criticisms of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is that it's overly descriptive to the point of the story isn't being told. And Lovecraft...
You can tell it's been written by... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
With Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I love the book, but you can very much tell that it's written by a woman.
I wouldn't go that far. I know.
I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I didn't know because you didn't laugh. So I was like, is that a joke?
Hey! Why can't Helen Keller drive?
Oh, I wonder.
Why?
Because she's a woman.
No, because there's no road between the bedroom and the kitchen.
Oh, I like mine more. Because, dude, I used, like, a little background on me. I was in stagecraft 2 semesters in high school, and one year we did the Miracle Worker, the play about Helen Keller. So while building that set, I learned every single Helen Keller joke there ever is. What did Helen Keller say about the cheese grater someone got her for Christmas?
What?
That was
the most violent novel she ever read.
I've heard that joke.
Okay, back to HBO.
Wait, no, let me go back to my point because I'm gonna forget it if we continue.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Because Milan's talked so much.
My point is that Mary Shelley's writing was overly descriptive to the point of the story wasn't getting told. Lovecraft found this great balance where the description had to be there to establish the horror that was there, I feel, and also just tell the story, because a lot of the story revolves around what's happening to the surrounding environment and the atmosphere built up by that. And he really balanced it very well. So that was one thing that I immediately noticed about the writing, and I do agree with Ian that it's so wonderfully written that you just gotta kind of close your eyes and let yourself fill in the gaps, rather than having it just told, this is what this looks like, this is what this looks like, this is what this looks like. So that's easily my biggest praise for Lovecraft's work with these 3 stories.
Okay, well, let's start getting right into the colors out of space.
One more. Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, this actually hits at a really interesting time for me, because I'm taking a ancient philosophy class right now, and we have to, for our final, we have to make a video about why ancient philosophy is relevant today. And my topic is going to be the sense, the feeling that you get that everything you've thought of has been done. Has been thought of or been done. The great example of this is that episode South Park did called Simpsons Did It, where people, like, the big criticism South Park always got was the Simpsons did this exact kind of episode before you. And so there's that, and everyone's had this, especially in philosophy, where you think of an amazing idea, and it's also in entertainment too. You think of a great idea for a story, and you plan out all these awesome things that you could do in it. So then you start doing research on it, and suddenly you find that not only has someone else come up with this exact same idea before, but they've come up with it better than you. They've thought of problems you haven't thought of, and they've been able to articulate it in ways that which you would never be able to.
This once.
Yeah. It happens constantly in philosophy. And so one of the things that I have to get into with this is the sense that you cannot describe what you cannot describe. And H.P. Lovecraft does that greatly in this story, The Color Out of Space. They say that they're strange colors. But that's the thing, he's not saying it's an orangish, greenish hue. He's saying that it's a color that does not exist on Earth. Fascinating idea. That you cannot come up with words to describe this because there are no words to describe this. That's actually, to connect back to something else I said earlier, that's the major theme in my story, The Knife, is you cannot describe the emotions that you were going through when something like that happens to you. Even if you're a poet, you could not possibly hope to describe it, so you might as well be someone who is, quote from my story, not great with words.
I had this argument with a friend once. We challenged each other, okay, think of a new color. And I was like, it's impossible, because whenever I try to think of a color, I think of a mix of different colors. It's it's not like a new color altogether. It's impossible, because that's just what we see the world that we're born into, and that's all we can identify.
Dude,
in terms of color, at least.
Lovecraft actually wrote a story about this exact subject. It's called The Unnameable. It's about a writer, it's a writer and a teacher, and they talk, or something like that, and they're talking in a graveyard. And this writer, the teacher's criticizing the writer for most of his stories, like the monster is unnameable. Obviously, you can describe it, but the writer argues exactly what we're talking about now. Well, this thing is so horrible that you can't describe it. Your brain.
There's a lot of that in the Cthulhu story.
Very much so.
Yeah. But the unnameable is more of a. I think it's a more of a Lovecraft kind of poking fun at himself, but it's more of a.
Oh, definitely.
Funny horror, but Lovecraft is great. But one more thing, Ian, I just gotta say, there's another story called The Silver Key by Lovecraft, and his prologue. As I was reading it basically, that as a video we made, why Batman and the
Joker.
Yeah.
Fools rush in, Joker's philosophy. Yeah.
Well, the Silver Key, the prologue to the Silver Key, a Lovecraft story, is basically as I was reading that, I'm like, this sounds so much like Ian, and Ian's, from what I can grasp from Ian's basic philosophy, or a darker version of Ian's philosophy, that it's like.
Wait, what? There's a darker version of the shit I say?
I'm fucking terrified right now.
No, it just seemed like, it's like I was reading the script that Ian sent me again, the conversation between Batman and the Joker. It just like, almost word for word. But
see what I mean?
Better reader.
See what I mean? It happens all the time.
This proves your point.
And thanks, Milan. I'm not going to let you get away with that better written thing. I am obviously the greatest writer to ever walk this planet. Because my ego is huge. Anyway, you know how people say that the Earth doesn't revolve around you? That's not true. It totally does. I am the sun, man. I am the sun.
You are the center of the universe.
Exactly.
No, don't encourage him along, because then he'll just think it's true. So don't encourage him. You gotta shoot him down whenever it's possible.
No, Galileo was wrong. Galileo was wrong. It's not the Earth. Sure, the Earth is not the center of the universe. That's true. It's Ian. Ian just happens to be on the Earth.
Now I'm imagining just like Ian floating in space, just like everything revolving around him, like this really crappy CGI effect, just like of him just like standing in the middle of space.
Ian is Yog-Sothoth. Basically, there's this another, Lovecraftian deity. He's basically the idiot god in the center of the universe, dancing with nothing but two amorphous flute players to keep him at bay from eating the rest of the universe. But he's the idiot god. So yeah.
That doesn't describe me at all.
Giant.
It does.
Oh,
It does.
thanks, guys. I'm feeling love. Can't wait till Bill's vacation.
One more thing. Back to the Cthulhu back to the Call of Cthulhu. The thing I really love about H.P. Lovecraft, if you want to learn how to write detective stories, or just one of those types of fictions where you're gathering different types of information, and
you're
in the
learning
beginning,
it as the narrator's learning it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I want to, if I ever get the chance to like a Batman story, I know that's highly unlikely, or some sort of detective-like fiction. I want to grab. It doesn't have to be about the Cthulhu mythos, but apply
Batman versus Cthulhu.
That's
awesome.
Probably been fan fiction a million times by now.
Yeah.
It's still cool.
Rule 34.
Well, you know what? Let's just drop the topic and talk about what we're all really waiting to talk about. Who would win in a fight, Godzilla or Cthulhu?
Well, Cthulhu is as big as a mountain, as he's described, and
Godzilla's like the size of 2 mountains. Just saying. Well, no. Here's the thing. If we're actually
God, it's actually turning into this. Sweet.
Oh, I thought you meant it. Okay, fine. No. We won't talk about that because I was like, okay,
right.
I really hope he's kidding because this'll never end. And me and Milan will just beat the shit out of each other all night. But
Exactly.
Maybe
that's what I want.
all right, to our listeners, since this is my last show for a while, I promise once we are done with these 3 short stories, Milan and I will debate Godzilla vs. Cthulhu. Okay?
Sweet. Awesome.
All right. Okay. But before we get into that, let's finish talking about the 3 stories. So
Okay, let's get back to the colors then.
Yeah.
So, the thing I found really interesting, the narration, we talked about this in the Green Lantern video where I said there are paragraphs in fiction written like poetry. Jim Morrison made the point that no one memorizes an entire novel, but people memorize poems, all right? And that's the thing is, you will never memorize an entire novel. You know, Fahrenheit 451 will never happen, but you will memorize lines of novels when they're written like poetry. You can write a paragraph in a novel or a short story as if it's a poem. And that's what H.P. Lovecraft did here very early in the story. Because the line that stuck with me is, I came across the bastard heath and immediately knew what it was.
It's a blasted heath.
Blasted, I swear I thought he said bastard all through the time. Anyways, I came across the blasted heath and immediately knew what it was. It was as if a name had been made for it and could describe nothing else. It was something along, like I said, I haven't memorized that line, but that stuck with me so much that I can remember at least the gist of it.
Yeah.
You know, I cannot quote you in the gist of the lines from any other part in that story. I can tell you what the story is about. I can't quote the exact things that people were saying. But that was like really close to it, I know, because it stuck with me that well. The idea of just this gray patch of, essentially desert that's just surrounded by all this fresh, lush greenery. It was so disturbing, and just the way he described walking through it and feeling sickly, and how horrified he was that he quit his job and vowed never to go back there. Wow.
Yeah.
That, just the images that conjures up in your mind. Because all he does is talk about it's gray. It's gray, and it's as if the dust never moves there. He never really says that much else about it. He doesn't talk about like how the ground feels. He doesn't like go through the classic, writing class, describe how it is with your senses. No, he just tells you how it makes this person feel. And even though you probably never felt that way in your entire life, you can immediately empathize with him for some reason. And you feel sickly.
I think part of it is that he's letting you fill in the gaps in your mind. I think that makes it scarier. Like, also, I think part of it is also that in basically all 3 stories, the character who's telling the story ends up essentially going mad due to the experience. I'm not sure about the guy in Cohort Out of Space. He kind of goes mad, though. But the other 2 characters...
he's perfectly sane. He just doesn't want to ever go back.
Okay, alright. But the other 2 characters, no.
Like, he made, essentially, actually, of all the characters, he made the most rational decision,
Well,
in my opinion.
Let me just say this then. The rest of their lives are dramatically changed due to that experience. And I think that part of that is that Lovecraft is really wanting you, by having this whole idea of, I can't describe it in words, that forces your brain to say, what is so horrible that he can't describe it with words? And then your brain starts to come up with some sort of vague, abstract image of something you can't describe with words that you also find somewhat horrific. And then you interject that in the story, and you feel a similar shell shock the characters are feeling. And that was the most effective thing in Color Out of Space for me. It was just the idea of seeing something that you cannot describe was, like Ian said, one of the most interesting things I've ever seen done in the story before, since it's a really
troublesome thing to write. I can only try to imagine what it'd be like to try to film.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It's like, that is like the hardest thing to do in like a written format. It's like, that's the whole idea of writing. You have to describe what the character is seeing, and to have something that you can't is really interesting. and add to the horror of the event. I mean, if it was a film, all of that would be gone. You'd have to put it on screen.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you just you just go through the black, you just go with like Alien, the first Alien movie. It's just a really dark room. We can't really see anything.
Or if like they did it like Abominable Snowman at the Himalayas, where it's like it's just the characters' faces the whole time reacting to what they're seeing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
that wouldn't suck.
Yeah, that's the thing about Lovecraft. He is unfilmable. There are some attempts to film some of his work, but just they don't get the mood right, and they never measure up to the thing you have in your head.
Isn't a Reanimator based on a Lovecraft story?
It is, but Reanimator is more of a jokey thing because
I think
Reanimator
you could probably do the Shadow over Innsmouth.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because that's got a lot of detailed description. That one doesn't have so much atmosphere. That's a very much kind of a
I don't
Glimpse Out
agree.
story. Well, no, not to the extent that the other two have. Is what I'm saying. It's still got the same level. It's still got a lot of atmosphere, but it's much more based on the detailed descriptions.
It's a much more kind of typical. No, I don't want to say typical because it's really creative, but a really kind of this is what horror stories are generally like. I felt that way about it, and that's why it's my favorite kind of. Because I mean, I love the very abstract ideas that Lovecraft brings to his writing. But I just dug what was going on in Shadow over Innsmouth. It's like the way the character was describing things, what actually happened in the story. It was just really great short story. But back to I forgot what Ian's point was. I was going to say something about it, but whatever. You guys just
we're talking about the difficulty of writing this stuff. Now, let's go into let's kind of try to wrap up Drawn Colors. The biggest let's go into the negative parts about it. The biggest problem I had with it is I had a really hard time empathizing with the family. It reminded me of this really horrible joke that I heard. There's this poor little Ethiopian girl, and she has to walk 20 miles every day to go to a well to get water, and then she has to walk 20 miles back home. Why the fuck doesn't she move? Isn't that tragic? Why the fuck doesn't she move? No, it's the same thing with this family. I had a real hard time empathizing with them because, I could see it at first. They're just hoping that the land would grow back and everything would be fine. But then, their mom went crazy, and things started getting worse. Objectively worse. It wasn't slow, either. After the mom went crazy, things go downhill fast.
Yeah.
Why didn't they move?
Well, it's explained in the story, because in the story it says that they can't move. There's something keeping them there. And the character, he just goes why don't you move? The guy who's telling the story, Amy, why don't you move, Amy? He's like, I can't. It keeps you here. It won't let you.
I don't remember that. I gotta be
honest. No, I do kind of. It wasn't so much moving out of the area. It was the well thing.
That he wouldn't dig another well was bad enough, but I do not remember them bringing up moving away.
I remember Annie bringing up that he wouldn't move, but I don't remember him saying it about. I forgot the other guy, New or whatever his name was. I can't remember their names, but whatever his name was.
That's another problem I had with it. There were so many characters, it was hard to keep them all straight.
That I completely agree. The thing is that I'm kind of with Milan that it's kind of like an implied thing. I mean, I think, of course, Lovecraft should have given it a little bit more this is why they didn't move. But it wasn't a problem because I kind of understood it just from an implyment kind of thing. They wouldn't move because the thing's psychologically affecting them and it's keeping them there psychologically.
Also,
but
all their horses are
I suppose he should have said that.
Even if all their horses are dead, I mean, once your mother or wife goes crazy...
They could run.
They could run. It's just, it seemed
And he's coming back constantly. Get on his fucking horse.
Exactly. It bugged the crap out of me. Another, like I said, that was one problem I had with it. The other problem is there were so many characters in the family that I had a hard time keeping them all straight.
Wait,
yeah,
there's only,
family, I had that problem.
But there's only 2 kids.
Well, no, it's just there are 4 characters, and they're not being referred to directly. They're being referred to through Annie, so it's just hard to keep them all straight.
Well, who is being referred to by some other person?
Exactly.
It's just very hard to follow,
especially
when you're listening to it.
Yeah, it's very removed, and it's hard to keep them all straight. That being said, I have a hard time with names anyway, so like, that's more of a personal problem for me. But
No, I had that problem too.
if you have a problem with the names, you're probably gonna have a problem with the story.
Oh,
And then the final thing that really kind of just I found it. Let me put it this way: I understand why he did it, but I still don't find it to be acceptable. I still find it to be something that I can criticize negatively. Is the level to which that reality did not play a role in this, because that's a major theme of the story is set to be that this world, there are things happening that could never happen in the real world. But that's what's supposed to be so shocking about it, is this is all taking place in real places, in the real world. I believe Arkham is an actual town, or it was in that time, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's not. Arkham is basically all of it is as a Lovecraft creation.
Well,
Arkham,
it seemed
Innsmouth-
very real.
I
Like
know,
he
I
said
it was mainly based on the town of Salem, which is in New England.
Okay, fair enough. But anyway,
Yeah.
like the biggest problem I had with it is, so the professors come from the university and they take pieces of this meteorite and then they go test it, and it has all these strange properties. And then they go back the next day, get a bigger chunk, and then test that and go back again, and guess what? There's no more meteorite. This is 1920s, right?
Earlier.
Wait, no, it was supposed to be. Yeah, it's supposed to be like happened in the 1870s, right? Like all the
I
stuff that
think
Annie's
it's more like
describing.
1890s.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All the stuff Annie's describing was supposed to be in the 1890s, but even then, why did there was not even any mention of the government moving in and taking that land, and they kept bringing it up. The townspeople just laughed. That seemed so implausible after a new element was discovered that no one wanted to come in and look into that
Well,
more deeply than, oh well, the rock's gone.
no,
That
the thing
seems
is,
so implausible to me.
I don't know, just
I
suppose
don't
so.
really. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me not being really a big history buff about the United States government. Just from a fiction standpoint, knowing how the government has worked in fiction, I kind of buy it only because there's not a lot of mention of the U.S. government behaving like that pre World War One. Because of all the spying stuff that was going on once we got into a bigger conflict. And that's when something like that would become a really big deal if it was on American soil. Previous to that, it's kind of just like cool, but it's I can see your point, Ian. It's just that I don't really, from a fiction standpoint, I don't see the government behaving like that pre-World War One.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is,
no. Hold on, real quick. The thing is, spying did not start in World War One. Spying for America started after the Revolutionary War. It kind of died out, but it came back up again big time in the Civil War. Spies. That's what the Secret Service originally was spies. And it got downgraded over the years, obviously, to glorified bodyguards. But that's the thing is, spies and government secrets and stuff really got big again in the 1860s during the Civil War, because guess what? There was all this power given to the executive branch because they just lost a president. We should probably take better care and look into the areas we're going and what's going on in this country that we don't know about.
I see your point. I see your point.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's I'm not sure. Basically, the scientists come, they take out a piece of rock, they come back a second time, and they take a little bit more, and they come back a third time, and the rock is gone. And in the story, the guy asks where's the meteor, and the farmer says, well, it's just melted away. I really I don't really think that the government really give a shit about it's just some meteor fell
it's a new element.
Yeah, but it melted away.
Wait, did they say it's a new element in the story?
Yeah, they say it has no properties of any Earth element.
I know, but they melted. That's why they kept coming back to the meteor, because the samples that they took away from the meteor kept dissolving, And so they came back
So
a
why
third time.
wouldn't they put the area under study to see what effects it's having on the planet? It didn't. It fell apart for me. It became totally implausible that we have a government. And you were talking about how he was influenced by this book that said all the secret societies were all together. That's conspiracy theory. Why is the government not involved in a conspiracy theory writing? It bugged the crap out of me. It's like completely implausible. And it comes down because if the government was involved, you couldn't have this character stuff where the family goes crazy over several years. You couldn't have this weird town that's just afraid to go into this area. It's a major plot hole, so he just says the government, that the townspeople just laugh. He writes it out, says no one was interested after the meteor was gone. And it's a major plot hole to me.
Didn't bother me at all.
Not me neither, because it's
that's
like
just
it's
me.
supposed
That's
to
just
be.
me though. It didn't strike me
Yeah.
at all, and I can still
Yep.
probably go back and read it even knowing that and just say I really don't care.
Yeah, but
It's still good. It's still good. I still love things about it, but those are my three main complaints about it. The whole government, like, it's a big plot hole to me. The fact that I have a hard time keeping track of the family members, which would probably go away if I read it again, and the what is the other thing I said?
Well, I agree with that one.
The removal of narration.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with those two criticisms. Those are my two big ones too. So I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
agree
but this
with
is
them.
I suppose, like, I know this is not much of a defense, but it's supposed to be like in the backwater places, and it's just like on the edge of, like, just a place that anybody really gives a shit. But the thing that I really like about this story is just, I highly disagree with you guys. I really felt sorry for the family, and just some of the creepy imagery in the story that really got to me. Just like they're getting eaten alive by a color. It's kind of, it's like, so I always thought of it as like a sort of a super cancer that eats you, also not from the inside but from the outside too. Because when Amy comes to visit, the farmer, and he's just sitting there, hallucinating, calling his son to put more wood on the fire to make it warmer in the house, and the doors are just all open, and he's freaking out, and like, when Amy asks, like, where do the boys live? Like, where are they? Because, like, they live in the well now. That just creeped me out. And he goes upstairs, and the farmer's wife is just rotted away, just a shriveled up corpse. And
No,
then
she
just
wasn't
realized,
shriveled up. Like, he had to kill something is what they went out with that.
Yeah. Yeah, but she's like kind of melty and gray, but she's still alive.
Definitely,
yeah,
okay.
And then he's like,
Well, you
can't
said
let her...
corpse, so no,
Well,
she's not a
sorry.
corpse.
What they heavily
corpse
imply
life.
about it is that it leaves nothing solid behind. Like, there's nothing you could actually stop. Like, they bring up the stick thing. Like, even no matter how deep they go, nothing solid gets hit. Like, no bone or anything. It's just all like gelatinous goo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even though it looks solid.
that was creepy.
And let me just say this, Milan, I don't think that it's not scary at all. I should have reinforced this earlier. I don't feel horror from the character's eyes, and that's just how I consume horror. Is when you're with this guy, inside this guy's head, feeling the horror that he's feeling. I didn't feel that with those individual characters. From an atmosphere perspective, from a descriptive perspective, it's a very creepy read, or listen, as we did. But just from looking at it from, like, say, Annie's perspective or from the dad's perspective, didn't feel the horror that they were feeling. Only because of the description and the atmosphere, and at least the concept of the thing, did I feel the horror, and it was well done. Just from the individual character's perspective.
All right.
One more thing. The one thing that really creeped me out, you guys can, give your thoughts on what really creeped you out, but the thing that really creeped me out is the pigs. First they look like healthy, and then they start bloating up and look all like really like fungus-like, and they get all red, and then they just shrivel up and just almost like just turn to dust almost. It just is really. That's the thing about Lovecraft. He's really great as not exactly putting in too much detail, but the detail that he does put in, it puts your imagination into overdrive. It's so fucking creepy.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to unless Bill wants to put in with what he found most creepy, because I already said it was the description of just this desert in the middle of a greenery.
No, I'd say you guys covered my thoughts pretty well. I mean, just overall, the read or the listen itself is a really creepy kind of description, and I basically what you guys just said, I found both things creepy.
Okay, let's go into the Shadow over Innsmouth then.
My favorite story.
Okay.
Oh, shut up.
Really, it's my
Mine
least.
too.
It's my least out of these. I gotta
Really,
be honest.
mine's the Colorado
Really?
Space.
I liked it up until the point at which he finds out he's one of them.
I love that part.
Me too.
I
love
saw
it
it
too.
coming from a mile away, and
Really, I
Yeah.
didn't at all.
no, like the second, like here's the thing, is the guy says, in the beginning of the story, the guy says, "I'm going to Arkham to visit my family roots," and then in the middle of the story, the drunkard tells him that one of the fish people,
Marsh.
yeah, well, whatever, got married off to. Got tricked. An Arkham man was tricked into marrying one of the fish people. Really? So on a find your roots thing, you just happen to go to a town where someone was married to an Arkham citizen, and then you're gonna go to Arkham later, and you're gonna be creeped out while you're in this town. I knew, like, as soon as I heard him say that, I was like, 85% chance that he ends up being one of these things. Knew
I
it.
liked- I
As soon
liked-
as
Let me
when I
ask
first-
this question though, to either support or disagree with Ian's point. In that scene, does the narrator bring up or bring that point back up that he was going to Arkham to find out his family roots and express dismay at that?
No, not at all. But I just
Then it doesn't
remembered
bother me at all.
I remember
Me
it
neither.
from the detail. No, it's fine. I remembered it when he was describing it, so I was like, okay, I bet it's gonna happen. I saw it coming too early, so it ruined the rest of the story for me because, like, the more he described how horrified he was by it, the more I'm like, he's gonna turn, he's gonna turn, he's gonna turn, he's gonna turn. I just knew it was coming. Every time I heard him describe, like, what new disgust he had for it, or someone describe what new disgust they had for it, I knew it was gonna turn because that's a classic horror trope,
Well, it was the
He came up
1920s.
Yeah.
Well,
True.
okay. That's. I mean, looking at it now, it's a little like I guess it's a little tired, but I didn't see it coming, and maybe this proves me as an idiot, which I know I already am. So whatever.
No, when I first read it, when you first read it, you don't see it coming, but at least I didn't. But when you read it a second time, it just all comes together and just like, damn, that's really.
I didn't even find it problematic when I looked back on it in retrospective, which I had. That's one of the things that spoiled the Colorado Space for me, was that when I looked back, I was like, oh, that was a problem. With this one, I was like, no, the ride itself, the journey of it was so well written, so frightening.
Yeah.
The character was really relatable, and that was the thing was, I completely forgot that he was going to Arkham to find his family roots, because I was just as involved as he was in the whole what the hell's up with Innsmouth kind of thing.
Well, here's the
Me
thing. Here's
too.
why I remember. Here's why I remembered that he was going to Arkham, because I listened to the Colorado Space first, and guess what? That happens in Arkham. So with this continuity, it's one of those things I was praising him for his continuity, but it's kind of working against him, because guess what? It makes you notice details like that more.
I listened to it in the same order. I didn't have that. I was just like,
that's what I'm saying. Is I realized more so that he was going to Arkham because the last story took place in Arkham, so Arkham was in my head. That, and I'm a Batman fan, so.
well, that was that. I couldn't get that out of my head either. I was like, oh, is he going to Arkham Asylum? No, because we all know that that's based on Lovecraft, but
Yeah.
just overall, it's my favorite for a couple reasons. I mean, one, we've actually got physical monsters, which that of course was right up my alley. And also they're like these cool fish frog things.
That was creepy.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, it was
Like,
like,
that's the
ooh.
thing. This is the most detail rich of the stories. As
Yeah.
far as like actual physical details of the creatures. Like, I think the closest to detail we got with Cthulhu was that he's got the face of a cuttlefish, which was, I don't know if that's a new kind of, but that kind of fell apart in a modern context. It just, they don't call him cuttlefish anymore, so now I've just got this mental image of a man with the face of a fish hugging someone.
Did you actually-
Oh, Cthulhu! Oh, look at Cthulhu with the tentacle face. Oh, he's so cute.
Oh one more thing about I'll mention that one.
Did I just destroy your entire world? Me doing a cutesy voice?
No,
No.
not even kind of. My world was destroyed years ago. You're just.
Hi,
kinda-
Godzilla!
No, it wasn't
Godzilla's so
destroyed,
cute. He's got the spikes on the back, and he's so big. Aww.
You sound like
Okay, that kind of annoyed me, but it wasn't. It wasn't destroyed my world. My world was destroyed by. I don't know what destroyed my world, but something did. My world is just pieces now. But anyway.
Just blame me. It's okay.
Yeah, Ian
Everyone.
is just, I blame everything on Ian. Like, even things that happened before I met him, Ian's fault.
Bill's just like, he's in line at the restaurant at like McDonald's or whatever, and he orders a to-go meal, and then he leaves the building and he gets all the way home and he opens his to-go meal and he finds out he's got the wrong stuff and he just like looks up to the ceiling and goes, yeah!
Oh, okay.
So
back
that's
to-
why that happened. No.
Bill, do me a favor.
Exactly.
Do me a favor. Make a video where
I
that
know,
happens.
now I'm gonna do it. Now I'm gonna
Because that would be awesome.
And then like
Oh,
continue into like smoking a cigar like ah ha ha ha.
Oh my god, dude. Okay, back to horrible monstrous inbreeding.
Oh god! Now that you describe it,
Yeah.
that was almost stupid. No, I'm kidding.
Dude, oh god. What do you guys like about the story?
I love this story. A, the fucking monsters were cool as shit. B, I actually was scared listening to this one. Especially during the very well described, very intricately described scene where he's in the hotel room and you've got the knocking
yeah.
on the doors and they're trying to barge in.
For me, it wasn't the knock and the barge, it was the rattling of the door before all that happened.
That
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
That's what did it for me more than
Yeah.
the frantic escape was the rattling of doors.
That
Yeah,
and also
they-
the fact that he instantly described every second of it. It was
Yeah. Yeah. That's the creepy part at the very beginning. It's like they think he's asleep and they're just trying to get the door open. But he's awake. He can hear them. And they're trying to get in. Like maybe it's just a guy who's lost his who's looking for his
They
room.
start swarming, and that's when
Oh.
it gets like, holy shit! What the fuck are these things?
And he looks out into the ocean, and he just sees the waves. He just sees everyone's like there's hundreds of people swimming in the sea, and it's dark. He can't really see very well. It's like, are they all fucking swimming? What the fuck are they going? What the? And they get out of the water, and he's like, oh fuck.
See, I gotta say, there's always this argument that don't use expletives because they make you sound unintelligent, and I never agree with it except for right now. Because Milan just took one of the best, like, horror scenes I've ever read and made it sound like...
Yeah, now the guy sounds like a frat boy from New Jersey.
Exactly.
He's like, what the fuck is going on out there?
Don't worry, I'll just show him my abs and they'll run away.
My name's Paulie D. I'm from the Jersey Shore. Yeah, thanks Milan for ruining my favorite Lovecraft story. No, I'm gonna say this. My personal favorite.
It's when you described it by saying, "What the fuck is going on?" It didn't capture how creepy it really was.
No, it's funny though. No, but my favorite shot, if this was a film, this would be my favorite shot, is when he's talking about him running or like slugging, as he describes, like a kind of stammering, and he doesn't think that they're after him yet. And then he turns around and there's like hundreds of them swarming after him, and it's like, oh my god.
See, here's the thing: is I found that scene. It was really well done how he described the monsters, but the problem is it was too intercut with how he was getting away because I couldn't really tell at what point that he like lost them. Because I know he obviously had to before he like passed out in the rail yard, right? But I didn't know, like, I know he was able to see the swarming, but I didn't realize if the swarm was chasing, like, right behind him, or if they were scouring the town looking for him.
Didn't he duck into the rail car, and that's how he lost them? Was that they wouldn't be able to see him unless, like, he says they wouldn't. I can see them fine, but they wouldn't be able to see me even if like a miracle happened. Like I think it was so much he lost them. It was just he ducked into somewhere where they couldn't see him, but he could see them, and that was when he was like getting really freaked out.
I don't know. I had a hard time understanding what was going on. That the pacing was problematic for me there, because I realized he was running through the town trying to get away, but he seemed like he was describing as if they were right on his tail, but I knew that couldn't be the case because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to lose them the way he did.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, he says he passes out and stays there through the night, so obviously none of them could have been right on his tail.
Here's my problem. He takes I agree with Ian. He takes too much time in between saying what they're doing and saying what he's doing. He takes too long to describe what he's doing, and it seems like it's taking longer for them to chase after him than it actually does. Like in like real time, this scene cannot be happening over more than 5 minutes. Because think about it, you're being chased by a swarm of monsters through a town.
He's not being chased by them. They're looking for him. They're swarming the town looking for him.
I thought they found him already. I thought they were chasing him.
No, they were, but they couldn't find him. He was just, ducking in and out of alleys, just, shambling across the street, just doing the whole, ninja spy evasion thing. And yeah,
it's still a great
it
atmospheric
is.
scene.
It is fantastic. Yeah. There's,
Let me
one
say
more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
There's this video game called Call of Cthulhu, and it's called Call of Cthulhu, but it's basically Shadow over Infinite. And it's basically, if you've played the game, if you've seen the playthroughs, it's an amazing game. It just captures the feel of the town, of the story so perfectly. And there's a scene there where it's basically recreating that scene where he's barring the doors and he's moving from room to room, and the innkeepers and the fish monsters are trying to get in through the rooms, and it's just such a great video game. It just captures the mood and the feel of the story so well.
I might play it.
Interesting.
You should.
Let me say my biggest problem with this particular story, and it's just one individual part. I said to Ian before we started recording that I would have preferred to read these 3 stories rather than listen to them. I still stand by that, though. At certain points, I feel like I agree with, because Milan told me before that he preferred listening to them. I can see that in certain regards, but in other regards, I would have just preferred to sat down and read it myself. Here's my problem. I cannot stand reading another character going into a page long like a monologue, like just ranting about something. And that's what happens with that the firefighter guy, the guy who's not one of them.
Yeah,
and he goes into a very, very long rant
He's
about
not a firefighter.
No, he just hangs out with them.
Whatever, he serves some function, and he goes on a very long rant about a bunch of different, seemingly disconnected things. They kind of connect once the narrator puts them together, but like when he's saying them, you have no idea what he's talking about. And I suppose that's the point. Here's my problem. When I'm reading that, I absolutely hate it. When I'm seeing an actor perform it on film, I usually love it. My favorite scene in the movie Jaws is where Robert Shaw is going into that very long anecdote about the USS Indianapolis, about why he hates sharks. One of the best scenes in that movie, if not the best. It's different, because it's not the actor's facial expressions and the way the camera's going.
It's a guy telling you a story. Yeah, it's a guy telling you a story.
And for some reason, it bugged the shit out of me with this particular story, even though it was being performed by an actor. I don't know if it was because we didn't see the actor. There was something about it that it didn't work. I was not only lost by what he was saying, again, I suppose that was the point, but it just didn't work for me. But I also just kind of lost interest a little bit. I was like, I was really loving this up until now, but now I just it's so ranty, I just can't get into it. But
I'd have to disagree with you completely, because I don't know if you weren't really paying attention all that well, but I loved.
I was working doing this. So I guess.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Well, reading Lovecraft can be a little bit difficult because with the thing you just mentioned, but Lovecraft is awesome if somebody is reading it to you. It's something that's really great to have a professional actor read it to you or act it out. It's like God damn, this would be so
Which is
hard
interesting because earlier you said Lovecraft can't be filmed. Interesting juxtaposition there. I get what you're saying. It's just an interesting juxtaposition. The problem I had with this character that we're talking about is that the actor, I feel, went so overboard with the accent there.
Oh, I disagree.
No,
That was
no,
the thing
no.
that really made me love it. I thought that this was the perfect accent to read Lovecraft in.
No,
But
no,
that's-
we're talking about the character that ranted. It just broke
Oh,
the crap
no,
out of me.
Oh, I agree.
Because he
That
went
was-
so overboard with like that
Uh-huh.
backwater inbred kind of guy. It
And
just
also,
didn't
this is fucking New England, not fucking Alabama.
exactly. And I got
No,
that
but
he was
this-
drunk, and I got that he was horrified, and he was trying to disappear into a bottle for the rest of his life. But it still just fell apart for me because it's so hard to listen to.
Yeah,
It's hard to listen to that accent on an extended basis. If he just had one or two lines, it would have been fine. But
Yeah.
to listen to him tell at arguably a third of the story really makes it fall
it's
apart.
very, very long. I wouldn't say it falls apart. It's very hard to listen to. I agree. It's easily the weakest link in this particular story for me. To go back to the audiobook thing Milan was talking about, with Lovecraft, it's kind of a double-edged sword with me because on one hand, I agree it's great to listen to. The Call of Cthulhu story, I prefer to listen to rather than read. But with this one, I felt like everything aside from that guy ranting was perfect for an audiobook. Just the way Lovecraft writes is perfect for radio drama kind of stuff. The music
there's
was
actually-
fucking amazing.
Yeah, this was BBC, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean the production values were top-notch audiobook stuff. My problem with the other two is that they're both kind of, I mean, Call of Cthulhu is definitely a professional job, but it's less so than the Shadow over Innsmouth thing. The other one was just kind of a guy reading a book to you, but and that was
Yeah,
the
you
biggest
could hear
problem.
him stumble a couple
Yeah.
times.
And I mean that's not his fault. He's doing it just kind of he loves Lovecraft, fair enough. But I mean it's yeah, I know. I was going to say, is anyone gonna laugh at that? No, okay. But I mean it's fine. I understand. I've had that problem myself, but it's just like, you know, we're listening to it. We should be able to understand it without having a script in front of us. But
Fair enough.
with this one, I thought the audiobook aspect really worked for the most part, except in the parts where he's taking a really long time to describe one thing or describe one scene, because then it's like you're really droning on one thing and you almost want to be able to read it because you can go back to it really easily. And that was where it was hard to listen to. It was like, wait a minute, what's going on? What's going on with this guy? He's running through town. He's stammering, but they're also chasing him. That was the big, and then also the guy was like ranting for like, it was at least 25 minutes.
Yeah,
If not more.
Let me get into just one thing that just occurred to me with what Bill was saying. We were discussing the problems of pace during that last chase scene, and the thing is, that really could have been improved if Lovecraft used an instrument that he used in other parts of the story itself and in all three of these stories, and that is date and time. And all three of these stories, he gives the dates, and I guarantee if you actually wrote them out as they are given through the story, like Colors Out of Space is definitely the biggest one, where he gives dates, because he says in July, in August, a year after the meteor, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it goes on a time span.
Yeah. If you wrote out these dates, I guarantee you they would coincide in interesting ways. Because no writer is going to be that specific with date and time unless it's important. You know, you never just pick an arbitrary date and time, give several different ones of them, unless it matters, especially in, you know, this interconnected universe. If he had used that device in the chase scene and put it at, like, you know, 3:52, 3:57, 4:02, you know, stuff like that. If he'd given, you know, the exact time at which these events were happening, it would have given you a better sense about what was going on. If, like, the character, it could have been just as easy as the narrator having a watch.
Well, he clearly does, because he throughout the day he says, "Oh, I looked at the time on my watch, and 5 hours until the bus arrives." I don't know if that would save it for me, because my biggest problem with it is that, again, my biggest problem with that scene is that he takes too long to describe what he's doing and not enough time to describe what the creatures are doing. Fair enough, he's the narrator, he's not going to be constantly looking back saying, "Oh, what are they doing? Oh, what are they doing?" He's going to be running, but that's, you know, it's someone reading it. You have to make concessions for the storytelling medium. So...
I'm definitely giving that. I'm just like, if he had done this, it would have worked a lot better in my mind.
Also,
Because if he had been if he'd like, one would have like given you a sense of how like burnt into his memory this is, that he can actually recall the time, which is arguably something that you would be able to do like that, you know.
And also, one interesting thing to support your point. At one point in that scene, he says it feels like eternity had passed, even though it had only been a few minutes. I'm like, okay, then what time is it? Because a couple pages ago, or a couple minutes ago, you were talking about how it was like 2 a.m. Is it like 2:30, 2:15?
I agree.
But the thing is, one more thing about your guys' criticism. I don't know if you've been in situations where you're just so terrified and you're in such of a rush and you just want to get out of somewhere, and you're just in that position where you just want to get out and you don't care about the time. Like a second might seem like an hour because.
Right, I agree with you. It would definitely be weird if he was constantly checking his watch. But what about when he sits down in the rail car and is just watching them?
Well, he's seeing giant fish monsters.
But Mom, my point is that's when he says the whole eternity thing. So wouldn't he say, "It's only been 3 minutes, yet it feels like it's been an eternity"? Then we would know it's like probably 2:05 or something. It's only been 5 minutes.
Well, here's the thing: is it doesn't even have to be a watch. If they'd had a clock in the town center that you could see from anywhere in town, kind of thing, that could work. It's got to be a plot device more than a character thing. Because we're talking about that it's a problem with the narration, and you can definitely put here you go. Here's why you could make time relevant. Instead of him passing out inside a railroad car and then sleeping the night there, which I still felt was it was okay because they're fish people. They can't stay out all night looking for him.
No, but he's passed out. He's
no. My argument is it's okay because they couldn't have possibly stayed out all night into the next morning looking for him. They had to go back at some point. But it seemed a little too convenient that he didn't wake up, about to be killed, or that he woke up. Period. Let me put it that way. It was a little bit too much that he didn't die from after he passed out, or get caught by them. So if he'd had the watch and was looking at it, because since it's a railway car, if he knew a train was going to be passing by at this specific time and that he could hop on it, that would have been a good reason for him to keep looking at the watch, and he would have been able to get into the rail car, watch it. Hold on. No, let me finish. He would have been... I'm saying if they'd had a rail going through. He would have been able to get into the rail cart, watch the town as the train passes through it, and then it would have given us a reason for him to keep checking the time. Because he's like, the train's coming, I can hear the train, or something like that. What time is it? It's 2:05. The train's coming, I can hear the train. I just gotta stay out of their sight a little longer. What time is it? It's 2:06. If that had kept coming up, it would have given us a better pacing. It's not a huge change to the story, because that was, like I said, another problem I had with it, to a point, is it seemed a little unbelievable to me that he could pass out in the rail car and they'd never think to look there.
Didn't they say they couldn't see it or something?
It's their town. If they're scouring the town looking for him, they should scour the town.
But I remember him saying something like he picked that spot for a reason of they wouldn't think to look there unless by some miracle. But I'm remembering it being more like he gave a very specific reason for why he chose that spot.
I can't recall. Milan?
No, sorry.
But anyway, I'm remembering something like that.
That's I hate to just say he should have done this, because you're not supposed to edit someone's story, but at the same time, you can see where I'm coming from.
Yeah, but you're saying where it can be improved, so it's different.
It would have helped some of these inconsistencies that we had that doesn't change the story in any significant way.
Well, I think the train thing kind of does, because I think the whole idea was that the town is so decayed that they don't even have a connection to the outside world.
They don't have the thing in the.
Well, the thing is, I live in Fort Wayne, and like 2 miles down the road is New Haven, a town built completely around train tracks. And if it wasn't for Fort Wayne, New Haven wouldn't have a connection with the outside world.
This is 1920, and it's the Depression now. And basically,
the Depression didn't start till the 30s.
Oh, all right, never mind. But they don't. It's specifically mentioned in the Drunken's ranting that that the train just doesn't go there anymore. That's why he had to take the bus.
Well, no, I'm not talking about like a good train, like a
Maybe he could have stolen the bus.
no, not even that. I'm talking about like just a shipping train, like a coal moving train, if you will. Like I'm talking about him jumping on like a hobo.
like a thing, like one of those things like on the tracks. You just pump.
Oh
no,
it's like a
no.
scene at a Temple of Doom. Like,
Not
you just
that.
drive-
No, God no. No, I'm talking about just a train that's like a shipping train, like a supply train. You know, like the kind that back in the 1920s was moving freight across the country. Because guess what? Semi-tractor trailers didn't exist yet.
I'm not sure.
Well, no, it's just that's the idea that came to me is if there'd been some kind of element like that, and it
Yeah.
could have totally been believable, is the train passes through here, but it never stops.
Yeah.
That could work. Just because that's the thing is I grow up, you know, I'm here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I've got a town built around train tracks, which is the worst way to build a town, by the way, because it's just shit city planning. I got a town built around train tracks, and I can hear a train siren going off every night, and yet I've never seen a train stop anywhere.
Well,
Because
the
New Haven
problem-
is just a shit town.
The problem is that they like Innsmouth seems to be kind of out of the way. Like it's near the coast, so it's not like they'd be crossing through Innsmouth to get to another point on the other side. It's right
Could
next
have
to
been on
it.
its way to Arkham.
No, but Innsmouth, that Arkham's on like okay. Let's look at it this way. Innsmouth is the middle. Arkham's on the left. The train wouldn't have to go through because there's water on the right.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just saying it's definitely plausible.
They need a plot device. I agree.
It could have worked significantly well, and you could have kept the isolation by saying the train never stops. That would have been fine, because guess what? Now it's just a connection to the outside world that no one has. It's that kind of like, it's looking at green grass through a barbed wire fence. Think of it that way.
I suppose, but he is supposed to jump on a moving train.
The hobos did it for years.
Oh, but
Depends on how fast the train was going. If it's only like 100
He
miles
just
per
jumps
hour.
on it,
He's
he
not
gets
jumping
bumped.
off that train.
This is the 20s. It's not a bullet train, guys.
No,
Still a moving train.
it's-
God damn.
Dude,
It's-
hobos
no, but
existed well into the 20s.
No, I'm just thinking how hilarious it would be for
Oh,
like
but they
an
have to
H.P.
wait
Lovecraft to have like that action movie element, like he jumps onto a moving train.
It could have worked perfectly well. It would.
No, I'm not saying plot-wise it doesn't work. I'm just saying that this, if it was on film, it would look hilarious in an H.P. Lovecraft story.
Oh, depending on the kind of train, like suddenly the color correction of the movie just changes to like action movie.
If all of a sudden he's
Elbows
fighting
and-
an assassin on top of a train and he uses
No, one of the frog people jump on it and they have like ninja moves.
it's the opening of Skyfall.
No, don't tell me about that movie.
No, it's in the trailer, dude.
Shh.
Yeah, it's in the trailer.
Okay, anyway.
You've already seen it.
Bill,
Anyway,
Bill, don't tell me. He'll go nuts and tear your head off with his teeth. But anyway,
he can't get to me because.
Bill, I can punch you through the internet.
yeah,
You
Why try it, man?
dude, don't, man. He did it before, man. He's a wizard.
Anyway, let's
Well, the wizard
I
is
feel like
separate.
we pretty much wrapped up Shadow of Rinsmouth. I feel like Milan's got one thing he wants to add real quick, and we'll go ahead and do that. Then we'll move on to Call of Cthulhu.
Not really, except just just creepy. There's this book that Alan Moore's writing, or I think he's already finished it. It's a comic book called I think it's Necronomicon. It's not Necronomicon. It's some sort of variation on that word. But it's basically a shadow over Innsmouth in modern times. It's like, how do they relate in 2011 or something?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing we didn't really get into, I mentioned at the beginning, then we kind of dropped it. I'm one of these fish-headed frog people.
I really
Like I said, I saw it coming. Bill really liked it because he's a Wolfman fan. He likes people turning into monsters. I don't know, Milan. Where did
at?
I know, I was kidding.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll allow me because I've talked enough in this, so.
No, it was interesting. It bugged me because I saw it coming. It was still a good. The way in which he revealed it, that the guy found out step by step, and that he considered suicide, but then ultimately decided to join, was really interesting to me. But it because I saw it coming, it fell apart for me.
It's just one of the themes that Lovecraft likes to play with. He was an atheist, by the way, and he just likes to play that. Oh, I know. Okay. Let me say. He had this theory that the future is unknown and bleak, and you can fall under a train tomorrow or something like that. But your past,
especially if you're James Bond.
Yeah. Well, let me explain. Your past is who you are, and if your past happens to turn out to be what you're not, like if it's something else than what you thought it was, then you're different. Because if your past is not what you thought it was, then that's not you. And he does a very interesting story. It's a short story called The Statement of Arthur German and His Family. It's basically it's the fear that people have about evolution. Basically, it's pre Scope's monkey trial, because the main character turns out his great grandfather fucked a monkey, basically.
You have such an elegant way of describing things.
Okay, you see, his great grandfather had a relationship with a monkey.
Okay.
He just fucked the monkey.
There are subtler ways to do that. It calls back right to Frankenstein. I made life out of my semen. We got the reference. We didn't need you to say it that way.
Okay, well, let me explain. Okay, look, but basically, he really delves into the whole fear that most uneducated people have about, like, I'm from God. I'm a holy thing. I'm not part of the animal kingdom.
I wouldn't call them uneducated. We're gonna get people pissed off with that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's sheer ignorance when someone says evolution is just a theory, and that
I know, but just there.
I ain't descended from no monkey.
Well, he's not really a monkey.
A professor of mine calls those people pandas because they're a dying breed.
Fair enough.
Well, it's not exactly a monkey. It's kind of a it's the missing link basically. There are albino apes in the Congo.
Okay. Anyway,
it's like between.
I get what you're getting at, Milan.
Yeah, what the hell does that have to do with Shadow over Innsmouth is my question.
I'm sorry.
Path at this
point. No, what he's saying is it's about that same kind of fear.
Oh.
All right, let's get into Call of Cthulhu then, because this is kind of the build-up. Is this Lovecraft's like penultimate work?
Well,
it would seem to be, because everything in these stories kept referencing Cthulhu. Colors Out of Space less so, but still.
Were there any Cthulhu references to that, aside from it being in Arkham?
Well, not necessarily, but you got the feeling that this was from Cthulhu's world, not necessarily just outer space. Because
definitely.
It's just like underwater. It's supposed to be like this dimensional thing.
Cthulhu. Let me just say something. Cthulhu is sort of in the story is portrayed as something like an unknown pagan deity that the anthropologists kind of sort of overlooked. But that's what he's portrayed in the beginning, and there's a cult that's sprang around it. That's the thing about Lovecraft. In the beginning, his stories, like most of his stories, are set in the real world. It's with educated men, discussing these things in rational terms. But it turns out, like, as we read on in the story, more and more knowledge, more and more facts get brought up, more and more information is added to the puzzle. The seemingly unreal events are given validity, and that's the thing that I really like about the Call of Cthulhu. Also, there's being insane. Me having had suffered from schizophrenia from a young age, the iconography of the octopus, of the thing with the tentacles and the demon thing with the tentacles, is something that me and many other crazy people that I've talked to really have a common with. It's that feeling of being violated in the brain. Just having these horrible tentacles going through your brain folds and violating your thoughts and violating the thing that you really are. It's not a physical violation, but it's more of a psychological violation. And every other crazy, schizophrenic that I've talked to through the years, they always describe this feeling. It's like having tentacles through your brain. It's like being psychologically violated by tentacles, and the tentacles and the octopus iconography always comes back to it, especially with insanity. That's another thing about Lovecraft's family. His mother and his father both died of insanity. His father died in an insane asylum. His mother was institutionalized for insanity, but she died of a botched kidney operation.
Madness is his birthright, to call
Yes.
back to our other show, Continuity!
Yeah, and that's another thing.
Actually, that's no lie. That is something that Grant Morrison based on was the history of H.P. Lovecraft. You know how both of his parents were insane, and that's part of what the whole Arkham's line, "Madness is my birthright," in Arkham Asylum series, House Series Earth. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Seriously, inspired by Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Very,
Yeah.
very much so.
And the thing about Lovecraft is that he died. Just a thought, just a mention of how he died. At the end of his life, he was ridiculously poor. Basically, he survived. He had this almost like a contest going with himself. Well, it's sort of a game he would get playing since he was so poor. He thought he basically survived on like 25 cents or 35 cents each day. Like if he could buy himself like a shitty pair of like this is I'm looking at a list of what he ate like each day to the near the end of his life. Cup of coffee, a cheap cup of coffee, a small bag of mints, a sandwich for dinner, and another cup of coffee. And with there's like 16 cups of coffee, well, not 16, but 3 cups of coffee interlaced through the day, because he was living on mints to the end of his life, and he couldn't afford to go to the doctor, and he died of of intestinal cancer, and just really
Right.
sad. Yeah. So
Anyway,
he
back to the
basically
Call of
starved
Cthulhu.
him. Yeah. Back to that.
Now that we're thoroughly depressed.
Yeah, I know. Now
Next-
it's like, oh man.
Here, let me cheer you up. Oh, look at Cthulhu with his tentacles.
Oh, yay!
Oh.
It's like dangling keys in front of my face.
Yeah, look at the tentacles! Could you imagine hugging him? They'd be all over you, blah, 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 the suction cups and
If the face of being disturbed could be worn, I'd be wearing it right now.
I'm just saying, like, I really
I'm glad
think that
I'm
is-
leaving this show now. No, I'm kidding.
No, I just think it's one of
Oh.
the funniest things that Cthulhu, who's like, the Satan, if that's even close to the correct metaphor, which it's not, of the Lovecraft world, who's like the most horrifying thing imaginable of the Lovecraft world, just because of South Park, basically, got turned into this just cute little, like, it got like Hello Kitty-ified. It just became cute for some reason that I
there's
could
stuff-
never explain.
Dude, there's stuffed Cthulhu dolls. Dude,
I
there's
know.
Cthulhu
I
is
know.
just such like this its own, like no one even thinks of like, I mean, obviously he's the guy who created it, so people who know what Cthulhu is think, oh, Lovecraft created him. Cthulhu's become his own kind of like phenomenon, just like people are just like obsessed with the mythology.
He's become
and
like
just,
Dracula.
Yeah,
basically.
it's all because of South Park. Like, I'd never really heard, like, I'd heard of Lovecraft before, and I'd heard little bits and pieces about Cthulhu, but ever since that South Park episode where they finally gave you why Kenny keeps coming back from the dead, with, Cthulhu and going into the whole, other world of H.P. Lovecraft, ever since that episode, he just exploded. It was ridiculous.
For
And
me,
I love
it was-
the Goth Kid I love the Goth Kid line. Man, Cthulhu was supposed to come and bring darkness and a whole new empire, and he hasn't done anything. Just like Obama all over again.
Oh god. Oh god. Now we're getting into political stuff on the show. No,
Oh,
Cthulhu for me exploded after I saw him on Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged Series.
I didn't
Really?
even know he was on Yu-Gi-Oh! That's ridiculous.
The Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged Series, the parody.
Oh, okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense then.
well, that's the thing about Cthulhu. He's, if you read the original Dracula book, by Bram Stoker, Dracula's a creepy motherfucker, and
He's
he's
a creepy,
unnerving.
pedophilistic old man, is what he is.
Yeah, well, but he's a creepy villain. He's a great villain, as he inspired countless of other, immortal bad guys like Ra's al Ghul and what have you. But thanks to Bela Lugosi, which is a great movie, but
It's overrated in my opinion.
well, the whole iconography of the vampire, blah blah blah, and all that stuff.
I do not always go blah blah blah.
Okay, well, it's permeated.
I love that line. That's the one reason I want to see Hotel Transylvania is
Oh, it's
just
so
to hear
good.
that line in context.
So,
Because I know that's got to be a running gag where it was like,
Dude.
Dracula, the guy that goes blah blah blah. I am not always going blah blah blah.
that movie ends with a rapping Dracula.
Oh, now I know. Now I don't want to see it.
It's so good. But anyway, basically, the iconography of Dracula, the friendly vampire, has permeated through the popular culture. That yeah, we're getting movies like Hotel Transylvania, but while the actual real guy, King Dracula, he basically Dude, he had a whole forest of impaled corpses in his front lawn to freak out his Muslim invaders. Like, hey, come sit down, have some dinner. Dude,
You know what
gotta-
that makes me want?
What?
Chocolate cereal.
I wonder why. No, here's my problem with whenever someone brings up Vlad the Impaler next to talking about Dracula, the fictional character. Bram Stoker created everything we all know about Dracula before he even knew the name Dracula.
Really?
Everything we all know, like the vampirism and all that, was created before he came up with the name. He was he had the book done, and he was walking through a village in Romania one day, and happened to come across a historical site about Vlad the Impaler, and was like, Dracula's a really cool name. I'm gonna use that for my villain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, but the thing about the vampirism thing, most of that stuff he took from East European folklore.
Right. And he mixed in we're way off track. Fuck this. Let's go back to Cthulhu.
Okay.
I like this one. I didn't love it.
It takes way too long to get going. I didn't start getting interested until he started talking about this, like the Eskimo tribe and the voodoo people in the deep south that had the same connection. That's where I started to get interested, and then it lost me again until they woke up Cthulhu.
Yeah, then I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. My problem with it is it doesn't feel like a story. It feels like a guy explaining stuff. It almost feels like a history of Cthulhu kind of thing, like a documentary.
No.
I'm not sure if that's a negative criticism, because at the same time, I'm not sure if it's a valid negative criticism, because that's what it's kind of supposed to feel like. It's supposed to feel like a guy describing the events that led up to the discovery of Cthulhu. It's very much supposed to be a very rationalistic, removed approach to it.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. It's almost like how an researching detective will look at things. Some of these things that just don't seem to connect to each other. And as the more information he gathers, the more they interact, more they connect. And I guess that's how I like the thing about this story is that Lovecraft really got that feeling of being the detective and just really discovering these things. And the anthropological detective.
Let me get back to what Bill was saying, and thank you for big words, because we don't nearly get enough of them that don't come out of my mouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Not the two true horror thing.
No, I'm just saying, really. I like big words, and we don't get enough of them. Unless I'm the one that's saying it. No, but what Bill was saying is, I agree with you, Bill. It felt very removed, but I don't know if we can call that a negative criticism, because it was definitely what Lovecraft was trying to do. You can say it didn't work for you, but I don't know if it's a valid criticism from a negative perspective.
I think it depends on what exactly his point was, because I don't know about you guys, but the first and foremost thing I would listen to Lovecraft for is entertainment. Yes, it's horrific. It's got these deep philosophical themes about atheism and paganism and all this stuff. But the first and foremost thing is because I'm listening to it because it's very interesting and entertaining literature. And
Yes,
this
Jack.
one I did not find entertaining that much. It got that way when we started to get more into Cthulhu as being this overseeing force and actually like getting into the cult and stuff. Like the first 15 to 20 minutes, I was really not into the story at all.
I guess it really has to do if you like, documentaries and.
I do though.
like-
That's the thing. Like I don't know what was wrong with this. The way he did it with this one. I love like the history of like these different kind of things and stuff. I would be very interested to see like a
mockumentary.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
I love that. I
All right,
don't
here's
know.
let me get into one thing because it's very well related. There was a line in this where he said, "What a worldwide cult couldn't do, a couple of scientists or something did by accident."
A couple
That
of
bugged me.
a couple of ignorant sailors.
No, it wasn't sailors. It was like the people that he was reading about, wasn't it? Wasn't it like the professors and stuff he was reading about?
No.
You
He's
mean the
talking
fact
about
that they wake Cthulhu up?
Yeah, didn't that?
No.
bug you?
It was a bunch of sailors, but
Yeah.
Still, in any case, it still bugged the crap out of me because here we have Group A, a cult that's actively trying to wake Cthulhu, and then here we have Group B, a bunch of ignorant sailors that accidentally wake Cthulhu. If it's that damn easy, why didn't the cult do it years ago?
The thing,
I thought they
the
explained
island.
it.
The island
Well,
has
go ahead.
been.
You know more about than I do. Go ahead.
Well, the thing is, the stars aren't really right. That's the whole thing. And the island was underwater, and that island, and that it was only the tiny spire of the thing that was dredged up from underneath the water, and so they didn't have submarines, this cult, or if they do, I don't know. But basically, they were going there. The cult, they were going to that small island to unleash Cthulhu, but they just happened to bump into these other guys, these sailors, and they
Right, and then they that's when they run into the pirates, or what they call pirates. It's actually the Cthulhu cult. And
Yeah.
the thing is that, at least how I took it was, they might be trying to do it, but as the guy who's narrating says, they can't because the stars aren't right, and they can't. There's this very strange but interesting kind of talking about like that Cthulhu isn't really dead, but he's not alive, and all that stuff, and that they have to get him out of that state into being something that's not quite alive or dead. And the fact that they were saying like the stars weren't right and they have to wait for this one night where it'll be perfect to wake Cthulhu up. And how I took it was like they just happened to be sailing past them at that point. But now I'm thinking about it, those pirates were the Cthulhu worshippers, so they were en route. They just got distracted by these sailors, and the sailors won in the end. So that's why Cthulhu woke up next to their boat.
Weird. Okay, it just the way like that's what I said. That's one of the problems I had with it is I had such a hard time following it because of how dry it got. And I swear I thought that the archaeologists, these scientists that were investigating the cult, accidentally woke up Cthulhu. I'm like, how did that happen?
No.
When you got an entire cult.
No, I mean, it's not like they weren't. I mean, they knew that it was like the one night thing, and they were trying to get there, but they got beaten up by sailors. So that's why the sailors.
That's the other thing. They got slaughtered, dude. The sailors got the ship, but they just thought, these guys are fucking repellent. Let's slit their throats and kill them because they attacked us. And it's just like that's the whole thing about.
Ain't that likable characters right there to just brutalize an entire boat of people just because they look weird?
Yeah.
Well, that's their right as Americans.
No, they're not American. They're like the Europeans.
I'm kidding.
I know.
That's their right as white people. You can go find a brown-skinned person right now and just shit on them, and they just have to go, thank you. That's just do that right now. I swear there will be no negative consequences from this.
The boat and slit their throat because they look a little fruity.
No, Bill, seriously, go do this. I swear there will be no negative consequences.
Yeah, I definitely won't get arrested or beat up or anything.
No, I swear. Would I lie to you, Bill? Would I lie to you for my own
I don't know at this point.
Ian, can I do it to you since you have brown skin?
You have brown skin, Milan.
No, I don't. Well, I
Yes.
do sort.
He's got a really shitty tan is what he's got.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter. You don't count as you're not a white man. You're Australian. They left you people on an island.
They're poor man's white people.
You're like rednecks. You're like rednecks for British people. Is what you are.
No, I'm Russian Serbian. I came here in 1990, or 2000. Yeah, 1999. I came here in
1990, 2000.
1990, 2000. Awesome year. No, all right, fine. You're Russian Serbian, then you're even less important than Australia.
Now you're like
At least Australians are environmentally conscious. Your people are just a bunch of drunks that sit around in the snow all year.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. We offended so many people in one episode.
Dude,
I don't care. They're not listening. We're an hour and a half in and we're talking about Cthulhu. No one's listening.
We're just yelling at a camera. No. I honestly don't have a lot to say about this one. I just didn't.
Yeah, I had such a hard time following it. I really couldn't connect a lot of the dots here. And that's sad because this was supposed to be, the big, this was supposed to be the Aletheia of his work,
This was supposed to be like the Avengers of the Cthulhu thing.
I love this story. I don't care what any of y'all say. I love it.
Way to be objective, Milan.
It's awesome. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's all awesome.
No, but I guess it's because I don't know. Just maybe you guys weren't exactly paying attention, but I could see
I
all
was
the little.
working while I was listening.
I was paying as I listened to this in the car, and then a little bit the last 15 minutes of it once I got back home. So I was kind of distracted by the road, but that's how I listened to all of them. Was in the car. So that's a hard argument to make because I was obviously very engaged by the other two, and I listened to them in the exact same way. So
the problem is that the main character has nothing interesting about him except the fact that his uncle died, and even then he doesn't really show any emotional remorse for it.
Yeah, that was the weird thing is he kept trying to say, I was just trying to be rational. Well, I'm having a hard time empathizing with you if you're just trying to be rational because you've got all this stuff that's clearly not meant to be taken rational happen.
This character should be played by Tommy Wiseau.
God, no.
Oh no, hi Cthulhu.
Dude, why do you keep bringing up The Room? Are we gonna have to do a review of The Room when you come back?
Oh yes!
Oh God, no!
On the very first episode, when Bill comes back, The Room. We'll just set him down and make him watch The Room 1,000 times until he.
I've only seen it once myself, but it is it's like watching 2001: A Space Odyssey for the first time again. It's that kind of movie. It's so fucking hard.
Never say 2001: A Space Odyssey and The Room in the same.
No, I can because it's like as 2001 is for good movies, The Room is for bad movies. It's just it's the nirvana of cinema for bad movies.
It's the Fantasia of shit.
It is. It seriously is.
Oh God. Okay. Anyway, so Call of Cthulhu. Great vision. We've been really tough on this story, but fantastic description of Cthulhu for the big fear is if you keep mentioning all these things, I can't describe it. Well, you're gonna have to describe your giant monster. You have to. And it could have been a major letdown, but the way he gets at it, with the one exception of the word cuttlefish face, that tentacle face would have been. It sounds almost like an insult. For some reason, it sounds like someone like I could shout at you, tentacle face, and you're supposed to be insulted. But at
is this some kind of hentai joke or something?
Yeah, just I don't know, something like that. Tentacles emerging from his face, something to that effect would have worked better. But otherwise, every single word he uses holds up, except for cuttlefish face.
I have that with all three stories. This is just the least effective to me. Mm-hmm. I said the color out of his face was my least favorite. It's not. This is definitely my least favorite.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just saying, I'm trying to talk favorably about it. Like I said, besides the cuttlefish, word choice, the description of Cthulhu and how he comes and what he does is incredible to me.
Yeah, that's easily the best part of it, is when he's talking about the sailors and what happened on the island.
And you can definitely make the argument. You can definitely make the argument real quick that it wouldn't have been as good if the rest of the story hadn't been that dry. I don't know if I'd agree with it, but I could I can see that argument.
You should try to make every part of it interesting. I mean, even if you
It was
ultimately
interesting
fail,
to me.
Milan, no one cares.
Yeah.
If
'Cause-
anyone wrote a story with you in mind, it would be a terrible story.
No, but I like the story.
You're a horrible piece of shit that we would never review because it'd be so bad now.
Dude, we should review Milan's life. It would be awesome.
We do every episode and we do nothing but shit on it.
No, we should just like review Milan as a person. Just do a whole episode where we talk about nothing else besides Milan as a person.
And like,
And like we rate him on an objective scale, like I don't know if you've ever played Civilization Revolution, but like they at the end of the game, it'll like rate you on a scale of leaders. We're gonna like rate Milan on a scale of people, and we'll put like one person just at the top as like we'll put like Chuck Norris at the top,
and then Charles Manson on the bottom.
Yeah, and we'll just like rate where Milan is on that scale.
Oh,
Yeah.
one more thing.
And
Okay.
the cover image will be like like Milan's head, like giant image of Milan's head, and like the top will be cut off so you can see his brain, and there'll be me and Ian laughing at it from the top, like pointing and laughing at it.
Sorry, Milan, go ahead.
You guys are so mean. Oh, but anyway, this
we
is.
kind of like you. It's okay.
Oh, I like.
We don't like you.
I
We just
kind of like.
we
you
like
guys.
having you around because it makes us feel better about ourselves.
Yeah, that's how I'd say it too.
So I'm the I'm the Jersey Shore of the group.
Yeah, but you're the
See-
butt of everyone's joke.
Let me put it
Okay.
this way: like skinny women always have that one fat friend for a very particular reason, and it's so that when they feel fat or bloated, they can look at her and go, "Oh, well, of course I'm not fat." You're
At
like
least I'm not
that.
that, yeah.
Yeah, you're like Bill and I are shitty people, but we can look at you and be like, "Oh, at least we're not that bad."
Yeah, at least we're not that jackass.
I'm so mean right now. It's not even funny.
Oh,
It's my last show. It's my last show. I have to get all these feelings from Milan out.
Yeah, like,
Oh.
Bill, we should probably open up that list you and I have been compiling of just Milan insults for emergencies.
guys,
Um,
guys.
oh.
One more thing. Let me just add one thing about Lovecraft's life.
Go ahead.
The thing, since I mentioned before that his mother was crazy. She as a child when H.P. Lovecraft's father died and they lost all their money. They used to be like upper class in there. His grandfather used to be like an industrialist and like upper middle class guys. When his father died, his grandfather died. His mom and him were just just left with nothing. They went to move to their aunts, and basically, his mother kind of lost her mind, and she would keep him coddled away. She would never touch him. She would mother him insistently, but she would never touch him or embrace him or hug him. And she'd keep him locked away in the house. And she used to tell her friends, "Oh, my son's deformed." And it's just like she's like, "My son is physically deformed. Don't talk about him." And I don't know, just
Question:
that's just-
do you know anything about his mother and father's relationship? Like, in particular, what led to them being married? Because
not really.
not lying, that sounds like the kind of relationship that forms very often from children of rape.
No. The thing is I don't know. There's no real information that I know of about their marriage, but let me just tell you about this. You guys were talking about the emergence of Cthulhu from the city of Relief. But there was this instance in my younger years when I was suffering from schizophrenia really heavily. There was one night where I was, I couldn't sleep because, the thing about schizophrenia is sometimes it won't let you sleep and you can't relax. And so I was laying in bed. It was nighttime, like 3 to 4 a.m. And I was listening to H.P. Lovecraft, the Call of Cthulhu.
That was a good idea.
Yeah, perfect
Yes.
thing to do when you're trying to sleep.
Let me
Listen
tell
to
the
fucking
story,
horror.
goddammit.
Horror
Yes, you do it.
stories, great
Yes, you
idea.
Yeah. I was crazy, dude. Let me just say. I had.
Fair enough.
Well, clearly.
I mean, well, you're not now. I mean, no, that's
Well, well,
that's
I
horrible. I
know
apologize.
English is a second language to you, Milan, but you gotta remember, past and present tense.
Well, I'm sorry. That was a really horrible joke. I apologize. I shouldn't have said that.
You should. That sucks. But anyway,
I'm sorry.
basically, yeah, you should feel bad about being an asshole. Wow, what a
Yeah, but
shocker.
things I don't. So.
The thing is, I'm just saying things. Like, I'm sorry, Milan is right up there with, yeah, Mom, I'll take out the garbage.
See, I'm just the dog chasing cars.
Okay, sorry. Milan, continue, because this is actually really interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, the thing about schizophrenia, it's like having a telescope in your head that's all out of focus, or having a radio station or a radio in your head, and just the dials are all, I don't know, just all. You're on a station that nobody else is. You're just kind of flitting through the airways, passing through things that don't make sense, and you don't have it. You can't really combine the proper the amount of facts in one instant to think about things properly, if that makes any sense. But basically, as I was reading through this story, and the thing about schizophrenia, if you're really into something, you're really into it. You have this really vivid imagination when you have schizophrenia and you listen to something that that has your full attention. Basically, so I got up to the part where Cthulhu emerges, and throughout the story, you get hints at what Cthulhu truly is, like what he represents. And when I got to that part, when I finished this, as I got to the part of Cthulhu coming out of the hole in the ground, out of the city of Relia, it was like as though, you know how, mystics talk about calling up something, calling up demons, and having to pull that thing from the other world with your mind. But it was like this whole concept of Cthulhu, this horrible, monstrous, indescribable madness and terror, was coming towards me through a second plane of existence, and it was trying to break through into my physical plane, into my perception. And it was one of those things that it was like having a comet come at you, a horrible, giant, planet-sized comet of tentacles and madness. And so this thing kept getting closer and closer, but I had to stop thinking about it. I had to stop focusing on it, but the thing, it was so big, the whole concept of Cthulhu just kept coming and coming. I wanted to push it away, and when the character got up to the part where he's finished, reading the manuscript, and he mentioned, like, I must not and cannot think, because the concept of Cthulhu actually existing is far too awful to comprehend. It will just completely crush me. And I really got that in that moment. I had to push it away and completely blank my mind, because if this horror actually happened, I don't think it was a really bad hallucination, let's just say, and it really freaked me out.
Wow.
That's actually a very, very interesting story, and I would encourage you to write that down and post it somewhere, because it's very empathetic, and it's very human. Wow, I don't really know what else to say beyond that.
Yeah, that's a great closer for an HP Lovecraft video.
Yeah, and I think let's just do our wrap up real quick. Yeah, it's end of video right here. So we're gonna be back next week, and I'm gonna probably invite Alec back again, if he's down, or we might have to have Ed on again, one of those two. And next week we're gonna do a double topic for me, because I had two really good ideas, but there's no way we're gonna get a full video out of just one of them. So we're gonna discuss fan theories in fiction, all right? And then we're also going to get into apocalypse in fiction and how it's used, all right?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so we're gonna, and that's definitely, those two definitely will intermingle. That should be a good transition ground. Like, I don't think we can get a full hour out of each of them, so we're just gonna try to do, the two intermingling for idea next week, and we should be back. We'll take Skype in still. Milan's offer to draw you is still up, so
add me or Milan on Skype. My Skype name's still Sid Part 2. Milan is milan.jeffdick5. And, or you can PM me with a download link for your Skype in file, and I will, record that, or I'll post that recording, and like I said, if you're the first person to Skype in, Milan will draw you, so. Until next time, we're the Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.